This afternoon's little task is to do a completely closed transfer from here, which is now in day 10, is it? Yeah, day 10. Probably not fully finished fermenting, but that's okay. I'm going to do a complete closed transfer into this fresh all-rounder. There'll be absolutely no oxygen involved, and in here, I'm about to star sand this, in here will be the hops and a new float hydrometer to carry on taking readings. So first of all, we're going to get the top on here. I'm going to fill this with star sand from the star sand keg. Now, I always keep star sand sealed, well sealed. The reason for that is I make it with distilled water, and the less oxygen it's introduced to, it will last pretty much, well, for a long time. I always say forever. Obviously it won't last forever. It will last for a long enough time. So first of all, I'm going to transfer the star sand from here into there using a slightly longer transfer tube. So what we've got going on here, we have CO2. We are now, drop that pressure a little bit. CO2 coming through here into la keg conner, coming out of la keg conner into the all-rounder. I have a sponding valve on here which I will use just to control the speed at which the beer is transferred in a minute. That's good. So this is now purely star sand. I think there's about 10 litres, 12 litres, something like that in there. Back soon. So that now is the end. There wasn't as much in there as I thought. About 8.5, but I can always increase it a little bit by doing that. There you go. 10. Alright, I don't know whether that's level or not. So that now has, I can stop the CO2. That's transferred everything in from that keg in via the dip tube into this all-rounder, which now I'm going to shake around a little bit to fully sanitize it. I'm going to leave the float hydrometer in there when I've emptied it all out, and put the yeast in and then transfer some beer. But first I'm just going to let this sanitize. There's a little tip. I don't often give tips. This is Yorkshire. The stand for the all-rounder can be used either way. It's got a narrowy bit here, so you can plonk the top bit in upside down to get all your star sand up there, or you can flick this over and it sits lower if you need more headroom in your fridge, which I don't, obviously. So this has now had 10 minutes of being sloshed around with star sand. I'm now going to transfer it back into the corny keg. And the way I'm going to do that, we've disconnected, sorry, I'm not pointing the camera in the right place. We've disconnected the gas. I'm going to let the pressure out of the keg, and I'm going to, this is where it might get interesting if I'm not careful, because I normally need two hands, but that's gone on all right. So now that is taking it from here back into the corny keg. I might need to put a little bit of extra pressure in here. Don't know yet, we'll see how we go. So that's now completely cleaned out with Star San. Star San is back in its corny keg. I'm going to pop these hops in. This is the hop addition for Bernie's. That's going to go in there. A lot of dry hops, that. A tad under 300 grams. Yeah, 290 grams. Lid's back on. I'm now going to seal it down. Now, I think, as I've said before in a different video, this only needs to be hand tight. The only purpose of this is to hold this down while it's in situ, and you'll need to loosen that off but not take it off, and then add pressure in order for that to come out. That's how good the seal has become on the Fermzillas. Wonderful. So now I'm going to purge this with CO2. There is now nothing in here apart from CO2 and the hops and the float hydrometer. We know, because we transferred the Star San from here into here until it started bubbling, all there is in this tube is CO2. There's no oxygen in this tube, so I can now safely attach this to the inlet, oh Christ, of here. Bailey, get a fucking tripod, you muppet. You can do all this properly then, without making a complete tit of yourself. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the CO2, oh God, into the fermentationist fridge, and I'm going to attach it to the gas in. That's not the gas in, that's the liquid out, and I'm going to take this spunding valve off. Oh, spunding valve off, and I'm going to put the spunding valve on here, and it's going to go down to the pressure that was in here, so that way we know the pressure is the same in both vessels. So when I increase the pressure in there, it will force everything out through this tube down into here. Won't you? I forgot my little trick, what I does do, which is throw a little bit of CO2 into that dip tube. So any of the krausen which has got stuck in the end of the dip tube will be blown out. Like that, and then we'll let the pressure on this drop sufficiently. It's still going, can you hear it? Yeah. I don't know how good a video this will make. It's a little bit all over the place, sorry about that. We are now in a position to take the beer from here through the dip tube, through this, which has only got CO2 in it. That's only got CO2 in it. That's only got CO2 and hops and the float hydrometer in it. So, good. Oh, I'm going to have to do this with two hands. Won't be a second. Oh, look what's happening, boys and girls. We have a transfer. There's absolutely no oxygen involved in here at all. It's fantastic. So I've got a tiny little bit of CO2 going into the top here. That is then pushing out through that dip tube, through this tube, and into here. And all we're doing, really, the experiment of this is to remove what has currently brewed off of the yeast cake. Now, that's probably going to need a little bit of that's it, that'll do. Just because the way that float kind of works, anyway, you don't need to know any of that. That's going down nicely, thank you. Again, no prizes for speed when it comes to this. It's a nice little gradual transfer. These, by the way, came from of course, as did all my cornies and just about everything else. I know I bang on about Brew Cake Tap, but the reason for that is it's actually run properly, like a good company, by someone who cares about what he's doing. And it's pretty much Johnny who's behind it. It's better. Johnny who's behind it, and his service is exemplary. Right, that's enough of the ad. By the way, not incentivicated in any way whatsoever to keep mentioning him, apart from he's a smashing guy. He's helped a couple of my projects. Those of you who know what I do will, well, anyway. But regardless of that, he sells good kit. All my cornies and everything. Right, now back to this. This has got a way to go yet. I'll come back when we're just off the yeast cake and we'll see how we're looking in here. Now that dip tube isn't quite underneath the surface, so it's drawing up, as you can hear, quite a lot of CO2. It doesn't matter, I don't care. It's only CO2. If that was oxygen, I'd be shitting myself. So that might be something I'll look at in the future, but give it a tiny little wiggle, and I think it just lets the balls drop. Ball, not balls, ball. Now that's the yeast cake on the bottom, and I reckon that's probably like, I don't know, can you see on there, does it show? No, it doesn't. It's probably about a litre, maybe. So we've got oh, come on, I can't really see, I can't get around to there. We've probably got about 4 litres to go in here, which is about right. That'll take me up to about 2021. Good, because I think after I've cold crashed this and those hops have down to the bottom, I'm going to lose about another litre realistically. So I'm going to get a full corny out of this. Hey, fantastic, that'll be good. And it doesn't matter if we pull a little bit of sediment from there. That's not the greatest issue at all, because all this will cold crash to the bottom. It's doing it again, look. Doesn't matter, like I said, it is only CO2, but it is annoying all the same. Just to give you an idea, I've turned it around and I've tilted it, if you can see. I've tilted the whole thing this way a little bit, so we have the yeast cake here and the takeoff here. Definitely think I'm going to be looking at, I'm hoping I haven't cut that tube too short. I don't think I have, we'll see. But we're up to just over 20 litres, so I'm going to let this carry on and suck the rest of this away. It's pulling a tiny amount of the sediment through, but again, like I said, that's all right. As long as we take it off the bulk of the yeast cake, we'll be okay. Good. I'm going to leave it at that and take the CO2 off. We'll put the CO2 back, because I always tend to forget. So you can go back there and turn it off. Turning it off, so I always sometimes forget. £16.20 a tank. We do not want to be wasting it. This is going to now need a clean out. All that's in here, obviously, is CO2 and beer. Let's have a look what's in here. Basically just the yeast cake. Good. And I wonder if I could just let's clean that out. Good. This is now ready for cleaning, and now what we do take that out, put that in, boys and girls. Just like that. I like that, like that. That won't mean anything to younger viewers. Here we are. Brilliant. Now, I think 4 days, 5 days maybe, I don't know. Certainly not a huge amount longer than that. The main fermentation's finished, that's done, dusted. But I now need to transfer in the My Brew Brain website logging program, which comes free with the float. I need to swap which float is applicable to this brew. I'll do another video about that, but for the time being now, let's put this in proper. That's the probe for the temperature. I'm going to drop this to 14 degrees, keep it at 14 degrees. So that's a completely oxygen free dry hopping enclosed transfer. Wonderful. Hope that's been helpful. If it has, please click the little thumbs up thing, because it makes me feel all loved, and it makes holding this phone and trying to do things with one hand all worthwhile. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please think about subscribing. It'd be lovely having you. That, for the time being, is Bernie's closed transfer dry hop. Cheers, boys and girls.